I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, March 17th, 2025 to order on a day that some of my friends call the High Holy Day for the Irish. And first order, pledge of allegiance, Charles.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody in the room and on Zoom.
Top of the morning.
Top of the morning. Thanks, Mitch. Thank you. All right. Item 2, public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board? Public forum. Jeff down. Name and address for the record is yours.
Good morning, Jeff Hocking, Church Street. I'd like to comment this morning on item 6.1, pension COLA. A couple years ago, during a similar discussion, the board talked about finding a solution that the police COLA matter, so that the police COLA matter is not a contentious dispute every 2 years. To date, I'm not aware of any such solution. I recently listened to the actuary presentation on COLA recommendations at the pension committee meeting. Prior to their vote of recommending no to the Board of Selectmen, it appeared to be based on sour grapes, as the chairman and one other member stated that they have pensions but don't get a COLA. To my knowledge, they also didn't have to wear a bulletproof vest to work every day to earn said pension, and their personal resentment of us should not be the basis of their vote. The chairman commented that he didn't think anyone gets COLAs anymore. He asked if anyone was aware of the department, any other departments getting COLAs. Although town officials at the meeting stood silent, you might all remember from my previous COLA presentations that there are over 40 Connecticut police departments receiving yearly COLAs. In addition, the Connecticut State Police and related law enforcement, probation, parole, corrections, etc., all receive yearly COLAs. I think these two examples show that police COLAs in the state of Connecticut are more the rule rather than the exception. I would ask that the Board of Selectmen vote yes to a COLA for the police retirees who have risked their lives and given decades of service to the town of Guilford. Let's also, as suggested 2 years ago, come together outside this meeting and draw up a long-term agreement for police retirees to avoid this contentious debate every other year. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board in public forum? Going once, going twice, closed. Approval of minutes, item 3.1 would be the February 24th, 2025 special workshop meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any comments, questions, suggested changes? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries. 3.2, March 3rd, 2025, regular meeting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
Second. Further comments or questions, changes, et cetera? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room? Aye. Carries. Item 4, Finance Director. Mary Jane, good morning.
Good morning. Got lots of things to do today.
Yes, 4.1, receive monthly report. Let's start there.
Okay. As of the end of February, we are 66.7% through the year and 96.8% collected. Just slightly less than where we were last year, but of course we have adjusted some of our budgets, which causes that slight difference. Some of our departments are already over their expected revenue, and some are very close. So I think all is well on the revenue side.
Any comments or questions?
Okay, on the expenditure side, we are 68.8% spent, slightly higher than where we were last year, 66.7%. I don't really have anything new to report this month. I will note that, however, that the overages in the fire department are not only employee related, but if you look at the detail, building maintenance and vehicle maintenance is already very high this year. So that's attributing to that. I had planned, I had said that I was going to come back this month to make the debt retirement accounts whole. Since we had so many other things going on here, and especially tonight at the Board of Finance, I'm just holding that off till next month. It doesn't really make as much of a difference to what, but we have, especially tonight at the Board of Finance meeting with the audit report and all of that. I figured one less thing, we could do it next month. Other than that, I don't have any other comments on expenditures unless you have any questions.
None here? Okay.
All right, I'd like to talk about the medical report and some changes that I've made on here. As you know, we've been really watching our medical account very closely. I have noted that we had some funds due to us for stop loss. We recently had a meeting with the stop loss company. We had some data that did not get through their secure website, and so the Board of Ed had sent the information that hadn't been received, which caused us to have this receivable. We are clearing all of that up and hope to see that soon. So I want to direct you down to the very bottom of the report where the fund balance projection is. I am putting in there the amount of stop loss receivable. That amount is directly from the company. It's higher even than I had anticipated. There's more from last year that I hadn't known of. So we're putting in, continuing to put in more communication with the stop loss. Now, every time the requests go in for the, I'm going to be CC'd on those. So I have, you know, I can
Follow up.
Yeah, follow, you know, at first we thought it was gonna flow a lot easier. It hasn't, but as long as I'm aware, but I thought it was important to put that in because at almost $1 million, that makes a big difference to our bottom line. And the other thing I put here, the 2.89 divides that by divides that by what our budget is for 3 months, just to show you we're at 2.89 anticipated, which is right around the 3 that at least I always recommend. So again, just trying to add some enhancements to the information that I'm getting and the information that I'm passing along to you.
Thank you.
That 2.89 means
2.89 months,
Okay,
right, yeah.
trying to have 3 months of.
Right, the goal is
balance.
usually 3 months, so we're still low, but if we were to receive
Close.
all of that in, we're much closer than we had thought.
Right, it gives us the cushion to absorb the anticipated
December.
use of those funds for
Yes.
25-26 budget cycle.
Which will bring us way below 3.
It's gonna bring us below 3, but
That's why they're there, rainy day funds, you use them, and then you gotta pull it back up.
that's right. So I'm hoping that's helpful to you, to see all that. It's gonna be helpful to me as well, but I hope you.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
I'll just note that on catastrophic claims, we're at 56.8% of our premium, which is the highest we've seen in a few years at with $3.5 million of claims over 75,000 and 835,000 over the 150. Questions on the medical?
There you go. Good.
That's great
It
news.
is what it is, right?
I always feel like the, you know, you make an insurance claim next year, next year the reckoning will come, but we'll deal with it. I mean, right, premiums either are gonna go up or they're gonna move that threshold.
Right, well, and for
Insurance
us,
companies being insurance
right,
companies.
and for us, it's all claims driven, you know,
Sure.
if we only paid the premium, yes, our premiums would drastically increase the following year, at least with the claims, yes, we're seeing an increase, but hopefully, as you can see for the past 10 years, you know, they come and go, but. you know,
Stop
it's
loss
tough.
levels out the peaks and valleys.
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to item 4.2. Discuss and take possible action on the FY 25-26 budget as a result of the Board of Finance's actions on March sixth, 2025, where they relieved us of $275,000 in spending. And MJ has done, with the department heads, has done some really good work to accommodate those cuts. So MJ, if you would.
Yeah, so I'll just go through the proposed cuts at this point. So on the report that you have, I collapsed all the departments that are seeing no change, and the detail you see is for any department that we're recommending a change. I'm gonna ask Mitch to come up here.
Sure.
First budget is the insurance, and we have some changes there. Mitch, if you just want to review those,
Sure.
this is what we're taking out.
Gotcha. Yeah, so, the workers' comp and the LAP, which is the liability, auto, and property, we had put in recommendations based on what our insurance agent had told us to put in when we gave you the original budget. Since that time, Kerma has come to us with more definitive numbers. We were a little bit, making sure we had some extra money there just in case, and Kerma's numbers came in lower than what we had originally seen. So that was able to drop my estimate for the workers' comp by 20,000. Also be able to, from 480, from 465, which column? 45, 465, and then the LAP, $10,000 from 316 to 306. Also under the miscellaneous insurance, we were able to drop the 60,000 to 50,000 by looking at, we have actual numbers now on some of the insurances that came in. Most notably, we had better numbers from our insurance agent on the cybersecurity quote and the pollution control quote. Both those came in a little bit lower than we did. In fact, we did last year. So I was able to shave 10,000 off of that one as well. So that's a total of 50,000 off of 40,000 off of the insurances.
Okay.
Questions?
10,000 off.
Okay. Let's go.
The next one is the assessor's office. If you remember, we had originally $20,000 in a request for field work, which we had already reduced down to 15. I'm recommending that we take another 5 from there, bringing that down to 10. They do have specific plans to use these funds. However, they have the money in their budget this year that they are not expending. So my plan is to come to you, as long as you're all in agreement, to carry those funds over from this year, so that they have the funds to do the work they're looking for next year. So
Remind me what you mean by field work?
going out and testing for personal property, checking the personal property thing, I think that's like one of their main.
So in-person audits.
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Going out into the field to actually look to see, what the businesses, compare what the businesses have presented to what they actually have.
It's actually a part-time position.
It's a part-time position, yes. Yep. But we can provide the funding if we carry this year's over, so thought that was a legitimate place to make a reduction.
Good.
Some of the items in here are just moving things around. Next is economic development. The original request back from the department head was a full-time position, so the money was budgeted in full-time. Since we are keeping that a part-time salary, all this is doing is taking the amount you've already approved, taking it out of full-time and putting it in part-time. Strictly just putting it in the right account number. Got a couple of those. The next, similar to that, we have a reclass in the police department. We are moving 16,000 from operating supplies into maintenance service contracts. When we were putting that budget together, the chief and I spoke about some of the line items that were in operating supplies. We felt they were better managed in service contracts. Correct, chief?
Yes.
So that is just a reclass again, no reduction. The next is public works. Here we're removing the half-time mechanic.
Well, the full-time for half a year.
Correct, the budgeted half-time mechanic. So that's that reduction.
One of the things that I think we'll need to do and follow up with Dave and the commission is to see what, get an aggregate number, what the impact is on work that is being shipped out, that we are not doing in-house, to at some point take a look at the cost benefit analysis. And because I think they'll be back at the table next year with a similar request.
So the next is the health department, the removal of the permit tech. Then we come down into benefits. I have a somewhat significant reduction in FICA. And a couple things, as Mitch and I review these budgets, and we both work on all of the items in this budget, and we go back and forth. Last year, and we actually forgot about it, but last year we identified that we were budgeting FICA for the HSA contributions. So when I make a contribution into my HSA, it's non-taxable. In the budget, we were showing that as taxable, so we were budgeting for FICA for that. We identified it last year. By the time we did the budget this year, Mitch was like, there's something he's like, there was something we did different, and we finally figured that. So that caused a big swing. And also in the review of reserve for personnel, Mitch was budgeting for FICA in the reserve for personnel, as was I in here. So we were double dipping on the amount from reserve for personnel for the FICA. And then, of course, we've reduced some of the staff. So that's that difference. All right. So on capital, so the first thing on capital is a reclass.
Excuse me, can I ask a question? Hi.
No.
Sorry. With the rearrangement of the FICA and the other thing that you just said, could you give me a number figure on that?
Which one?
FICA.
The FICA and the
What's the
Social
change?
Security and whatever it was.
114,812.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Number.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about capital in relationship to also the police department. So the first thing is the library. We moving the $10,000 technology from building maintenance into technology as just a correction on the account. And when you come down to park and rec vehicles, there's 49,500, which we erroneously linked to park and rec instead of linking it to the police department. So the true request for the park and rec is just the $50,000, does not include that 49.5. If you go down to police vehicles, you'll see that the 49.5 has not been added into the police vehicle line. We are removing the request for the admin vehicle. That 49,500 is allowing us the benefit of keeping the dispatcher in the police department. That reduction in capital is more than is needed. About almost $20,000 more than needed to cover the budgetary impact of the dispatcher. We felt that was a position that had, merit to keep in for many reasons. The chief is here in case there's any discussion, but that's how we were able to manage that.
I just want to give a little bit of background. I reached out to the chief to talk about, try to get creative to find out if he had other areas in his budget he could go to so that we hold on to the additional dispatcher. Because the chief and I had some conversations about the spillover effect of not having to put sworn officers on, as well as we talked about the replacement salaries and overtime salaries. But the chief thinks there's some downstream benefits that were going to be attributable to having this position, which he hadn't had time to fully bake out and consider. So that will be part of the chief's effort this year, is to try to identify those areas where we're creating greater efficiencies, potentially savings, more effective police work. So I think it was important. We've talked as a board on a number of occasions about, particularly as it relates to police and fire, overtime and replacement salaries, and trying to get a handle on that. And we've long talked about, and what's the tipping point where you bring somebody on and, and those costs, while they may be marginally increased, are certainly covered by the benefits that are being accrued. So I want to thank the chief and also Mary Jane for working through that process. As I said, chief, if you really want this job, let's find a way to do it. So it was good work.
Chief and I both had long discussions about this. I know this board, the Board of Finance often asks Chief Hershaft about, the dispatcher situation in the communications area, where that cost benefit comes in. They've got 4 dispatchers, where police have 3. And it was felt that, what works in the communications area should work as well. The same kind of scenarios with the police department. Chief Massey and I have had several discussions about that. And we feel that it's a wise decision, and also to try and get some of those other costs that concern all of us under control. And as Matt just said, and the chief has said, to have the officers, doing more on the road work as opposed to behind the dispatcher desk.
Questions?
No, so I'll just say that this totals the $275,000 that the Board of Finance requested be cut from the selectmen's budget, bringing our revised budget to $48,170,729, or a 2.91% increase over the current year.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Nice work, Mary Jane, and department heads, so on getting to that number. So is there a motion to approve the adjustments as just recently outlined by Finance Director Mary Jane Malvasi in the amount of $275,000 to affect the actions taken by the Board of Finance?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Second. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
Good work.
Do we know where this leaves us right now?
I believe I bought myself a copy of it. Yep, I am at 27.73 mils, which is a 1.15 mil increase, or 4.32%. And that is taking into account, as I said, the correction in the EMS revenue, change in the motor vehicle assessment that you have on your agenda today. So, right, so my numbers take into account that motion you're going to hopefully make later. So all of that is worked into my numbers.
What was it, 4.27?
4.32, I think.
3.2.
Change, that's a tax increase.
Correct, that's the
Right.
mill rate increase, yes.
Tax
Taxes.
increase.
Mhm.
And that's assuming the Board of Ed makes the cuts they've been directed to make.
And they have already.
They have
They,
already.
they
Oh,
met,
okay.
they have met last week and
Oh,
made their
okay,
cuts.
okay.
Yep, and we're ready to get it in the paper as soon as this meeting is over today. Yes, they've made their cuts, we've made their cuts, all of that is already, the full 925 is already out of my numbers for the rate.
What does the, what does the percentage come in for the school side after their cuts?
4.59,
And we're town side is 2.91?
yes.
Okay,
With
thank you.
debt and capital. 2.91 with debt and with capital. Um,
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good work. Item 4.3, consider and take possible action on bond resolutions as prepared by bond counsel for consideration at the April 8th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. All right. Comments or questions? This is pretty standard language that is provided by bond counsel. Just had one question, and I don't think it is in here. But we're gonna talk a little bit about how we conduct the annual budget meeting in terms of the provision.
Good.
Yeah, that's not part of the resolution.
It's not like, I went through it on Friday and they did not see it. I just wanted to confirm that that is not part of the resolution. So,
I did not request any additional language.
great. All right, there's a motion on the table? Any further comments or questions on it?
Yeah, I just wanted to, just so we've read the amount again.
Yep.
It's $2,353,318 proposed bonding from the town. Yes,
Correct, and that includes bonding costs.
That's-
It's all
Oh, good,
inclusive,
thank
all
you.
inclusive of bonding costs. Same with the Board of Education side is all inclusive of bonding costs.
Good. Thank you, Lou, for that clarification. All right, so let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries. 4.4, discuss and take possible action on the resolution and notice of the annual town budget meeting and budget referendum. Also, discuss the rules for the annual town budget meeting. Perfectly done, right?
Yeah.
Last year, we, as stipulated in the charter, changed the way we conduct the meeting. It was largely to ensure that there is adequate time allocated for folks to raise questions or to state their opinions on it. And what we had done was allowing for no motion to reduce could be called until at least 45 minutes of debate or discussion has occurred. Motion to reduce the budget, unless there are no other individuals present at the special town meeting seeking to speak on the motion. And then also, we limited it to 3 minutes each document. So is there a motion to include those provisions for the special budget meeting?
I'll make the motion, but I have some questions, but
Sure. Is there a
I'll
second? All right, Sandy?
I think this all sounds good. I just have a couple of clarifications. 45 minutes, is it appropriate to say that if a person comes up and speaks and there's still people waiting and we're ticking through the 45 minutes, can we not have that person speak again? I think you tried that at the meeting for the purchase of the 505 Whitfield, but I'm just thinking that it's fair to try to give everybody one shot than to give some people two shots. That's my first question. And my second question is, you're going to state that it's not appropriate to ask to call the question until 45 minutes at least. If someone does that at the 46th minute, there's no way to rescind that unless the motion itself gets voted down. Is that correct?
Correct. A motion to call requires 2/3 approval of the body. And it is it's a non-debatable motion, and it's one that has to be acted on immediately.
Okay.
And I agree, and we'll have the moderator ensure that everyone gets to speak once before someone gets an opportunity to come back up for a second bite at the apple. That'll be the ground rules of the moderator. We don't need to put that in.
Okay. Thank you.
and my sense of that concern that you have there, Sandy, is the advantage of minimum protection, minimum requirements for circumstances, whatever it is that, you know, people can't get rushed out of something. There's some minimum amount of time. On the other hand, once you hit that target, then, you know, it's got to sort of stop somewhere. So we're sort of setting ahead of time, you know, a buffer within which people get to be heard. And then after that, if someone is interested in you know, joining this debate, I mean, that's the bottom line is parliamentary procedure has been worked out a lot longer than this board's been in existence.
My comment on this is I could go longer than 45 minutes.
Well, that's
I
a-
don't like the idea of cutting people off. And at the meeting to discuss the purchase, which I watched remotely,
Right.
it didn't sit right with me that people were waiting to speak. And we were just, that's it. I mean, I'm happy to give extra time out of my evening because that's really the only downside is that it takes a little longer. So why not?
I sort of concur with that as well. To make it a little longer than 45 minutes, because we basically, I think, the meeting the other night was supposed to start at 7. It started a little later than that, but I think we had 2 hours of comment. So,
I don't know if it would be practical, but if there was some way of having a way to say, listen, if you're in line, if you've already stood and you're in line, you know, the motion to close will come after that last person who's then in line. So at least this way it cuts the back and forth a little bit.
Yeah,
And we could push it. I agree with you that 45 is a little bit arbitrary, and I'm open to suggestions.
Did you have a time that you thought would work?
if it was up to me, well, if it was up to me, I don't think that I would have
Oh,
it,
no
quite
limit.
honestly.
Oh, okay.
So, 2 hours?
The only problem I have with the no limit is, I don't really have a problem if they limit it to the 3 minutes. But sometimes things just get repetitive.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I
That is
find.
true.
And it's not beyond the realm of possibilities of the strategy is to continue to talk until people start to leave because they go home.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
That's what I was gonna say.
There's
That's the
safeguard
trade-off.
against
That's
that,
the trade-off.
We
So-
definitely lost
So-
people.
Yeah,
The other night,
Mhm.
we did.
so if we picked a longer amount of time, then I think absolutely keep to that 3 minutes, and even if we reducing that, I don't know, that's an option.
and even if sometimes it gets repetitive to the person speaking, they might not think they're repetitive. You know what I mean? If they've been standing there, even though they might end up making the similar point, but I think when people are voting, when the polls are open and it reaches the time of the polls closing, say 8 o'clock, I think anybody in line, even if they're standing outside,
Correct.
is allowed to vote. So there is some, like what you just said, Sue or Lou.
So we want to amend that to say at least 45 minutes or until all those in line have had an opportunity to speak, assuming it was their first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we'll craft some language.
It's for the words and until.
It'll take us 45 minutes to explain the instructions.
Honestly, it should be 45 minutes from when the public input starts.
Yes.
Another,
Or whatever. I think a little longer than 45 minutes, though.
Well, let's do an hour. An hour, Bill?
an hour work?
An hour?
Yeah.
All right, so at least an hour
Mhm.
debate has occurred and everyone in line or everyone in line at the 1 hour mark has the opportunity to speak, provided it is their first time.
Right, and Lou, to answer your question, it says 1 hour of debate. That would infer that it is the time that people are
Yeah,
speaking,
fair.
not from the beginning of the meeting, right?
That, oh, terrific, okay. Doesn't surprise me, you guys figured that out already, that's good.
All right, so that
Giving us more
modification
credit.
is, that modification is satisfactory? All right, is there a motion?
Oh, yeah, I think Sue should make a
Make a
motion.
motion.
I'd be happy to say.
Second. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Select woman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's one other clarification based on an email that I received about the methodology on motions related to reduction. And the question was, does it have to be line item or can it be a lump sum? And I had Pete do a little research. Charter is pretty specific. Any proposed appropriation may, however, be reduced by the meeting to a sum less than that recommended by the Board of Finance, provided at least $300 for voters in attendance and voting upon a motion reduced, and at least 200 vote in favor of said motion. Pete's ruling is, I think that means any proposed appropriation, whether individually or in a lump sum. So that's Pete's ruling on it.
That almost calls into question whether people can go line by line.
No, we believe they can. So, all right.
That doesn't require action by
That
us,
does
that's
not
just a
require,
clarification.
that's a clarification. Okay.
Publication of the charter.
Anything further? Till tonight. Thank you. Park and Recreation Director Pam Geary. Good morning, Pam.
Matt, before we do that, did we have the Board of Ed bonding to touch on too?
It was all part of the resolution.
Both were
Yeah.
together?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That was a gross number. Remember?
Okay.
Well,
There's 2 pages. There's 2 pages, Lou. One
Yeah, I saw the 2 pages. They just.
with the Board of Ed, one
So
with
we
the,
moved both. We
You're
moved
moving both.
bonding
yes.
proposals forward.
Got it. All right, good morning, Pam. Great event at the community center earlier this morning. 5.1, consider and take possible action to contract with DATCO for bus transportation for, I still love this one, Get Out, Way Out Camp. Pam, you might be muted.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We have about 50 kids on the waiting list too. Hugely
Wow.
popular this year with the kids like growing out of the Monuckatuck camp into this camp. But we're here to seek approval for DATCO. Ellen received 3 quotes. DATCO is available for all the dates requested. Peter Pan is not available for many of the dates. And then, of course, we had a no quote.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the contract with DATCO?
Yeah.
And a second? Second. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
I,
those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Thank you, Pam.
Easy peasy. Thank you.
But they all do that way. Item 6. Human Resources Director Mitch Goldblatt, 6.1, discuss and take possible action on cost of living adjustments COLA for current pension recipients.
Good morning
Good
again.
morning.
So we have before you is, you've already heard about this in public session, public comment, the a request to discuss the cost of living adjustment for current pension recipients. This went to, first of all, Jane Castellano from Milliman, who's our actuary, is on Zoom right now. If there's any questions that need to be directed to her, she is here to answer them as well. Jen is our actuary who put together the study. It was brought to the pension committee at this past month's meeting. It was discussed and the pension committee voted to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that do not take action on a COLA increase in this year. I have put in your packets the information that was provided by Jen in full, as well as the minutes from the pension committee for your consideration this morning.
Thanks, Mitch. You want to summarize?
Sure, the-
Dollar values,
yeah.
et cetera?
There's a couple different scenarios, but the one that's, put through is the full CPI, which would increase our liabilities for we have 3 different pensions, as you know. One's the police, one's the school, and the third one is for other town employees other than police. So the police would be $157,521 a year increase in our pension contribution. The schools would be an additional $45,000. And the total of the town employees would be another 96,000. So, you're looking at about $300,000 a year increase in the COLA contributions. Excuse me, in the increase in the pension contributions going forward.
The ADEC.
Is that?
ADEC. The ADEC, the amount that we have to pay.
Right. I'm sorry.
All right, as Jeff had talked at the public forum, beginning, we are required by a contract with
The police
retirees.
The police contract, the police collective bargaining agreement does have a clause in it that the Board of Select will take a look at the cost of living adjustment every 2 years. Last time around, you did make a cost of living adjustment, as you may recall. 2 years are up, and here we are to discuss it once again. And so it's before you for action this morning. Because so it's only called out, and just to refresh your memory, it's only called out in the police contract to look at it. But when we've looked at it, we've always looked at all three plans, so you can see what each of them look like. And in the past, whether there has been, just as history, whether there has been or has not been any cost of living adjustments for retirees, this board has always acted with all three in mind. Either all three would get an increase or all three would not get an increase. But that's completely up to you. It's your discretion.
Comments or questions?
When's the last call?
The last close 2 years ago.
Adjustment.
The adjustment was 2 years ago, yeah. It was a 2.8% adjustment. I believe you put aside $100,000 for a yearly increase. So that just didn't impact 2 years ago, that impacts going forward. So that's now into our
It's in the base.
actual.
It's already embedded into
Yeah,
the
the
base.
base, so the actually determined contribution now. This would, the numbers I just gave you would increase that ADC. Again, if that was so your choice.
Well, we did that last time. Was that the recommended number?
It was actually a little lower.
Number
No.
we,
No, we landed on a dollar amount and we backed it in to get. the
that's what I thought.
percentage. And Mitch is correct, it
And
was,
the numbers you recommended now are simply based on CPI.
The actuary always puts together a report for the pension committee and then to you based on CPI, which when cost of living adjustments are done, when they are done, whether it's this retiree group or any retiree group, that's usually what it's based on. So
That's what the numbers you presented.
that's the
today
numbers that
were
was just
based on.
presented, yeah.
But we do have the option of what we did a few years ago.
The option to do anything you have the option to do anything you want,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
Just to a little bit of history, the adjustment that we made in effective July 1, 2023. Prior to that, the last time there was a cost of living adjustment was either 2008 or 2015. I mean, it was,
I think it was 2008.
that's what I recall. So it was 15 year,
That's right.
that math correctly. So I also, full disclosure, I receive a town pension, so I think I can speak but can't vote. We just don't necessarily do this every 2 years. I mean, and it just cost us money to get this whole report as well, right? I mean, that doesn't come for free, correct?
Correct.
And I read that report and then I read the pension committee minutes, and this is my own lack of accounting knowledge. The report doesn't recommend or not recommend. Is that correct? It just gives us
That's correct.
information.
Just data.
That's what I thought.
Correct. The report we request is just to provide us what would it be
Right.
based
And
on the
then
CPI.
the pension committee then voted not to do an increase at this time.
Pension committee voted they're supposed to recommend to you,
To,
and their recommendation was not to do one this year. But that's up to you whether to accept that recommendation or not.
And their reasoning, what was their reason that they didn't recommend it?
I don't want to get in the heads of what they said, but I think it's just mostly because of the strain on the budget. And the cost that we already put into, the cost the town already puts into the pension, but, that's just their recommendation. I think the minutes reflected, whatever was there.
right. and that's-
Jeff
that's
Jeff commented on some of the comments that were based on the transcript.
Do you-
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you have any sense of Jeff's remark about that this seems to be the norm for police retirees.
We went through this last time. There are certain departments that have it built in into their contract or into their pension plan that state there's automatically a cost of living adjustment based on the CPI, or there's an automatic adjustment every year or 2 years at 1.5% or 2%. So a lot of towns don't even have to have this kind of discussion. It is either built in or it's not.
Or it's not even-
And if it's not, there's no discussion. If it's built in, there's no discussion. In the town of Guilford, the way it's been set up, it's not built in, but there's this caveat that says you will look at it, at least take a look at it. And that's what you're doing today.
Was the 100,000 for all the?
Yes, 100,000 was split over all three unions.
That's an important point in my mind too. I go into last year, just trying to, recollect. To the point that we hadn't done anything for so many years, that was a big factor of my mindset. There is no path forward at this point in time, developing a long-term resolution of this issue to your knowledge.
We've had discussions with the town council. We would need to go and bargain, reopen an existing contract.
For all, that's what it was, for each individual, okay.
Right.
And
And
then
the question is, who are we actually bargaining with?
All right, in lieu of that, the mechanics, the difficulty of the mechanics of finding a long-term solution. I haven't thought through a number because just looking at these numbers today, it's simply because of the extraordinary current rate of inflation. I could be open to doing another, even, I don't want to call it a token, but I don't know if we could ever reach the numbers that Milliman's talking about here. But I do appreciate that these are exceptional times right now. So I could be open to some discussion.
Problem is, we've just approved the budget
Right.
to move forward, which does not include anything.
Well, that was gonna be my next point.
If I can interrupt 1 second, Jen, I think you're online. Can you let us know what budget this would affect?
Yeah.
Would this affect the 2025, 2026 budget, or would this be an impact on the 26, 27 budget?
This would impact the 26-27 budget.
Thank you.
Okay, so that answers that question.
That gives us some time.
In Jen's report, and once again, I just read it quickly this morning, so I could be not understanding it. It looked like if we gave a raise based on the CPI, it sounded like it was going to be $15 a month for each recipient. Did I understand that correctly?
No, minimum.
Minimum.
There's very few, there's a handful of people that retired long ago that if you gave an increase, whatever percentage would be less than $15 a month.
Okay,
Most of the recipients are much more than that regardless, but there's a few, so it's been set up, it's, I don't know why, but it was set up this way historically that each person would receive a $15 minimum, which like I say, only affects a handful of people, mostly Board of Ed
Okay.
actually.
okay, now I remember. Thank you.
And can I ask, I apologize, the page that discusses the impact, the headings, the first one is full CPI, 6.3%.
Jane, can you explain where you got the numbers from, the CPI numbers and what goes into
What
that
effective
for us?
dates?
Yeah, we looked at the impact, the change in the CPI, the all urban consumers CPI use, the all urban consumer CPI index from January to January. The 6.3% represents a 2-year change in that number. And the 2.9% represents a 1-year change. It's to address people who only retired a year ago. Because not everyone was fully retired for that entire 2-year period we're looking at. So it's to adjust, give a lower increase for people who weren't fully retired during the entire 2-year period.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Not to prejudice this conversation, but as I think some of you know, I participated in the Municipal Employees Retirement System Task Force that was put together by Comptroller Scanlon. And the MERS 2.0, which is the Municipal Employee Retirement System that's run by the state that many municipalities participate in. The current version has a cost of living increase as perfunctory. The new plan does not include a cost of living adjustment. So statewide, they're moving away from COLAs. And I think you're gonna see some significant pressure on the state employee unions that will follow suit on this if this gets enacted into legislation, the MERS 2.0. So.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah.
You done? Given that the last time we did this, we decided to include all three bargaining units. When are the members of the various bargaining units all eligible, including the police and the other town units, all eligible to retire at the same age?
No, each bargaining unit has its own retirement parameters. The police retire after a 20-year period, start collecting a pension. For those that are still on it, like right now, I believe there's only 12 current police officers that are still on the pension plan. As you well aware, pension plan has been closed for several years. So all new employees since about 2014, 2015 are on a defined contribution plan, would not be affected by this even in the future. And then, most of the town employees are age 65 for a retirement date. There are parameters though, based on how many years you work. You can get your pension at 100% if you work 25 years. You can retire early with an unreduced pension. There's all kinds of formulas at the back of each of the pension plans that allows for an early retirement, sometimes at a reduced amount, sometimes not, based on your years of service. The fire department has its own parameters as well. So, I'm not even sure what the school board.
Well, will this affect school?
Yeah, the school, well, we say
This would do
school,
the non-certified teachers.
non-certified
Certified staff.
individuals, non-certified staff. So I'm not even sure what the parameters are for retirement, but I think most of that's 65 also. You're dealing mostly with custodians, paraprofessionals, cafeteria workers, that are on.
Administrative staff.
Yeah, administrative staff, thank you. On the school plan, not the teachers. The teachers are on the state plan. So I may have confused you more.
No,
because
that was very helpful.
There's no single answer there.
No, that's fine, and I appreciate that. Doesn't surprise me either. I go back to when this was founded, and this is, in other words, when this was negotiated.
Mhm.
And it is an unusual provision. And it obviously, as Jeff observed, I don't know if contentious is exactly the word, but it's certainly a moment of thoughtful consideration and discussion, and it feels like there's a winner and loser. But I don't completely see it that way. I mean, at the moment this was negotiated, people must have understood what they were doing and why they were doing what they were doing. And they give us, this board, this responsibility to tackle this. And I sort of see it as if there's some extraordinary circumstance that requires some attention. Otherwise, it wouldn't have given us the discretion to decide. If it was decided it was necessary to do it every year or every other year, or some other formula would have been included. If anything, the equities this year argue against it. I mean, this is the big budget we're tackling. Who knows what next year is going to bring? Every year, I sort of hope that next year will be the year that maybe things will magically sort of get better. Hasn't necessarily happened. I think we've done a great job of keeping a lid on that pressure. But it is nonetheless annual pressure on budgets, which hits everybody in town acutely, as we are certainly aware. And then sort of more globally, and this is a bit beyond the scope of what we have to specifically worry about, but I can't push it out of my head completely, is the idea that pensions have been crushed everywhere. And municipal pensions are one of the last places they exist. And the existence of a pension is a benefit that seems to me to be enormously valuable, and a reason for people to want to work for a town. And the COLA has already been stripped out to a certain extent for extraordinary circumstances. So my instinct is to lean slightly toward to no as the conversation starts, unless somebody sort of persuades me that there's some particular circumstance in this year that we have to make the decision, and every other year that we have to make the decision. to argue in favor of making a change. That's how it is me. So sorry for that long-winded speech, but
Like I say, it is your decision. It does have consequences years down the line. It's not, to keep in mind, it's not just a one-time fix.
Mhm.
It does have consequences for several years. I guess it's a 14-year amortization, so this will affect 14 years. Yeah, like I say, if that's something you, as a board, feel comfortable with, whether it's the amount that Jen has put forward or some other amount, that's certainly, your prerogative. To look at that.
That point of continuity to long-term consequences, do we have a date when the existing ones do age out?
The
I think
existing,
it was pretty far out if I remember asking a question before.
you say existing one, do people who are current employees?
Retirees.
Or current retirees who would be eligible.
So this will only be eligible for the people that are already retired.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And they will eventually age out. I think I had.
They don't age out, they pass away. There's no other way of putting it.
Just trying to find a date. Is it 10 years?
No,
20
there's,
years, 30
it's not a pension that's a date specific. It's not like you have a pension for 10 years or 20 years. You have the
understand
pension
that,
goes
but,
to,
And
and sometimes you have a joint, and plus, each of the pensioners, if they are married,
Let's
would have
ask
a
this
joint
another
survivor. Okay.
How many are we?
Jen, total number?
Retirees,
Yeah,
as of the last valuation date, 58 people as of July 1st, 2024.
58 in the
In
police.
which plan?
And the police, just the police,
Yeah,
sorry.
And what about the other two plans?
Give me a moment to pull those up.
I've got the numbers, but she's got, I don't have with me.
And
Because
those numbers include some who are currently active employees.
No, the 58 is those who are, or.
Just
who are
currently in pay status.
Yeah, pay status.
And what do we have in?
And on the police side, we have about 12 people,
There's 12.
12 additional
So
Who are
to-
who are
eligible.
eligible.
So to answer your question, we got a lot of years left. Hoping that
Oh, yeah.
they have a lot of years.
Oh,
left.
absolutely. As well. So Jen's gonna give us the numbers on the school and can you give us numbers on the school and on the
Yep.
town side as well?
On the town side, we have 53 retirees. And on the school side, we have 83 retirees.
Wow.
And we're only required to consider this for the police and not for the others. I get the point about it being fair, but, I also think it's part of a negotiated contract and there's give and take, and for whatever reason, it's only in this one contract.
Yeah.
So then from there, now we're talking about 2 years of CPI when we really don't have to be looking at 2 years. It could just be a point in time right now, which is running just under 3%. And we could have a reduced percentage from there. So I kind of feel like we're taking a pretty narrow request and adding a lot of things to it and saying, no, it's too expensive, we can't handle this in the budget, when we're really only starting with a small item.
I have a strong philosophical difference with treating different classes of employees differently, notwithstanding the risk involved in some of the risk, but they have been paid more handsomely for having taken that risk than many of the employees that are covered, who don't have the benefit of this being looked at for every 2 years. So again,
I appreciate
yeah, I know you. So,
And then you have a whole class of people who aren't in the pension who aren't getting any more than what you told them from day one. So, it's a lot of different,
Right. All
Cogs in the
decisions
wheel, yeah.
People have made years ago to end up where they are now.
And also, even though it's not in the look back or whatever we're calling it, it's not in the town or the school agreements, that doesn't preclude the pension committee or this board in, even if the police were not asking, would the other groups be able to ask, even though it isn't in there, it doesn't say every 2 years, but does it preclude somebody coming before the board and saying, would you consider a cost of living increase for our group? I mean, I don't know. I just wonder.
Anyone can request at any time, obviously, you know, we don't put gag orders on people, but you're required based on a
Right.
contract to look at least at the police every 2 years. That's why we're here. But no, you can look at it every year, you can look, you know, and you can look at whatever you want, but I think we're at least to look at the police every 2 years. And I think at least having the numbers, I understand what Sue is saying, but at least having the numbers in front of you, you know what the impact is. If we had asked Jen only to give us the police numbers, I'm sure one of your first questions would have been, well, what if we did it for everyone? And we waste another, well, I shouldn't say waste, we'd take another month to go back to Jen and say, okay, you now give
Yeah.
us the numbers for everyone. So you've got it all
Right.
here. What you decide to do with it, like I say, is certainly, you know, your decision and the consequences that go with it. You know.
All right, because it doesn't affect this budget, I think we have the opportunity to noodle this for a little while and discuss it again. Not taking action at this point does not preclude
The only other
us taking
comment
action.
I'll make is that the point you made about the direction of the state going, which I find interesting because it was my understanding, if anything, state or negotiations were leaning towards or attempting to lean towards going back to away from 401 back to additional
Right, but
defined benefit.
when we talk about the state,
I
we
know
need to be
that's the
careful.
franchise.
That's a different, this municipal employees retirement system is a standalone system that is only populated by municipal employees. It is managed and run by the state of Connecticut on behalf of their member communities.
By state, it encompasses potentially statewide municipalities.
Yes, it does. And actually,
To me, that's the direction that.
quite honestly, the effort by Comptroller Scanlon and others is to build better participation in that plan to make it stronger so that they have a more viable plan, all right? But they also have become acutely aware that in order to attract communities to this kind of plan, is going to require some substantial changes in the foundational assumptions, not the least of which is COLA, no inclusion of overtime. And there are a couple of other things that have been in the plan that are remnants or relics from contracts of yesteryear, which don't exist in most of these, in all of these municipalities that they are trying to attract to go into Mercer.
Let me just bring one thing to your attention. There's no impact on this upcoming budget. However, if you were to grant a COLA, it would go into effect for these individuals, unless you chose otherwise, July 1, 2025. So we would start paying the retirees July 1, 2025. The impact on your ADC, your actuarially determined contribution, would not in effect take place till next budget year. The only reason I bring that up is because if you are going to do some sort of COLA, you don't do anything, it doesn't really matter, but if you're going to do some sort of COLA, we need some time in my office and with Jen to make sure we get the information out to the retirees as to what the impact would be, and make sure we get the change to Zenith American, who takes care of our distributions, so we can make that happen, hopefully July 1st. I mean, if we could, it's always done in arrears, but if we're gonna do something, I'd like to do it by July
Comes
1st.
in next year's budget, we make it effective for next year.
Once again, it's your choice what you want to do, but if you are gonna make it effective July 1st, I'm just hoping you don't hold off like in more than another month, I'd say, at most.
I mean, if we were to put up or not make a decision today, what additional information would we anticipate?
Well, we need the actual out-of-pocket costs to pay
Maybe some
the,
different percentages.
Right, so if you were to go with what Jen has proposed, Jen has already provided to me, I didn't provide it to you because it gets really to the weeds. She's provided to me each individual and what the impact would be. If you do something in between say you did the 1 year, as Sue said, 2.9, or you did $100,000 as you did 2 years ago, or anything else different, it means that Jen has to go through and redo it for me. And then I have to contact each of the people who are the recipients, let them know what's happening, and also contact Zenith American, let them know, so we make sure that things happen by July 1st.
Okay, I understand the HR issues
Yep.
and required efforts. I'm talking about this board. I mean, us putting off a decision today, there's no new information other than picking a number.
For you, no, but I'm just saying to make
Yeah, your workload isn't gonna change, either if we did, yes or no, and if it's a yes. you gotta
Charles,
do
all I'm
something.
saying is if you, just because the impact to the budget won't be until July 1, 2026. If you follow what's been put before you, the impact to the retirees would be July 1, 2025.
Which means.
So I don't want you to hold this off for 6 months because it's not gonna, it's gonna change everything. That's all.
But in a simplistic view, if we're gonna start paying somebody on July 1st, that impacts the next budget. Not the actuarially defined contribution. It affects what's coming out of our pocket. Or is it coming out of the pension?
Coming
Coming
out
out
of
of
the
the
pension.
pension. Coming out of the
Yes.
pension.
It's
We just
it's-
have to change the contribution.
Our contribution as a town to make sure that pension stays solvent will be effective July 1, 2026. Even though you'll start paying it July 1, 2025. Jen, is that correct? I want to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn.
That is correct.
Okay.
The contribution for fiscal year 25 or 26 is based on the information in the census and the payments as of July 1st, 2024. So any changes to the payments after July 1st, 2024 will not be reflected until we do the calculation for the next fiscal year 26, 27.
I'm looking it up, how many members are there on the pension committee?
Currently, there are 4. It's a 5-member board. There's currently 4 members that are appointed.
What's your pleasure?
Well, I think the only reason for waiting and bringing this up again is because honestly, if the budget fails, I think we're all gonna be much more likely to not do this. So other than that, I don't see any reason in kicking this down.
Let's get through the budget. So it's a month, right, less than a month away.
Yeah,
It's 3 weeks, I think, right? Yeah.
so
I
I think.
yeah, go ahead, Sue.
I don't have a,
sentiment.
I don't have a
Yes.
vote. I'm sorry if I interrupted. I don't have a vote, but am I allowed to have an opinion?
It would be hard not to.
I would like to defer it for maybe, just the 2 weeks. I think, I think Mitch, you can still do what you need to do if we defer it for 2 weeks.
Oh, no, you could, I mean, if you defer it even until after the budget, as Sue has just indicated, you
Yeah.
defer it after the budget vote on April 8th, that's fine also. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
you understood it wasn't something we should be putting off for several months.
Right.
Because it would, to make sure we can make things, if you're going to vote for something, it happens July 1st, 2025. If you vote no, then it's a moot point.
Right.
But
Is that, does it have to be July 21, 2025? I mean, is that a hard and fast rule? I mean, you guys
It
could make it
It doesn't have,
January 1st, 2020. I'm asking the question because I'm not sure.
it's
but-
solely in their discretion. They can do whatever they want, but just trying to follow what we've done in the past.
I know, I'm just
That's all.
trying to make a clarification so everybody has a.
So 2 years ago, we did it even 100,000,
Correct.
and they just distributed against amongst all the
Yeah, we did the calculations. They came
58,
out. Yeah.
57, and 83
Well, it
people.
wasn't 100,000 divided by 50, it was the impact to our,
Our contribution.
not if you take all of the increases, I doubt that's gonna come up to $100,000. We were looking for the impact to our budget.
If we agreed to a contribution to the pension. that come
Correct.
out,
So,
in the amount
right,
of 100,000.
so,
Excuse me, a second. Jen, was that how we did it? Was the
Sorry.
Yeah.
impact to the ADC, was it actually $100,000 to the recipients?
It was the impact on the ADC, which backed into a 2.8% increase per person
Interesting.
but it's the impact that's.
with the
was
$15
key.
minimum, of course.
With
Right.
$15 minimum, right?
Interesting. I like Sue's comments. We've got a budget coming up that may well determine how we look at this. in a different
That's
set
what's
of
driving any decisions at this point.
And that 100,000 is
what percentage bump on our total budget? It's not, it's not enormous. It's a,
Yes. We just took 275 off, so.
yeah, it's a 0.1%. Roughly,
Correct, but it is $100,000 and
Not lost on me. And there's a lot of people who would line up and say, what are you doing?
we've made numerous cuts this
Cuts
year,
this-
every single department that are gonna be coming back to you next year. All those cuts you've made to every department, you're gonna see again. You know what I mean? That's so. Yes, it's $100,000. Yes, it's maybe a small percentage, but for all the departments, it's a big number. It's just my opinion.
Some of the cuts are, we're just postponing the inevitable.
But that's my point. It's not,
Yeah, next year's not going to be easier. The idea that next year's, it's next year, something
Things
magical
as
happens.
simple as the mechanic, I mean.
we're gonna have a
Yes,
hole
we
in our
take care
medical account
Yeah, so
because of
the medical's a
moving,
issue.
I'm just.
Yep.
Trying to put all,
And just on
One
a
second,
little aside, because I'm currently involved in negotiations with Mitch, one of the unions. Even within that, when we're trying to think about our current employees and what we're trying to do to keep them and get the best that we can get and not give away the ship. So all this impacts, you know what I mean? We're some of the things that this one particular union would like, we would like to do, but we're not going to do because we can't, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that we would like to do for our employees, past and present. So just a thought.
Thank you. Do you want a motion to postpone until after the,
yeah, I don't think we need a motion because we're just not taking any action at this time.
okay.
With the agreement, common agreement, we're gonna pick it up after the referendum.
Okay.
Is that good? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jen.
No problem. Take care.
All right, item 7, Board of Ed Director of Operations Facilities, Cliff Burnham. 7.1, consider and take possible action to contract with Best Tech Environmental Services off the state contract for asbestos abatement of the Baldwin gym floor. Cliff, good morning. Just what we love to hear about, asbestos in a school.
That's it, it just never ends. Anytime you pull
Well,
something
hopefully it
up.
will end.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing, we are getting closer though, because every project I do is one location less.
Great. All right.
So, we did do a partial abatement, if you recall, last summer, we abated underneath the bleachers in the gym at Baldwin. This, remaining project is the balance of the gym itself, so the bulk of the gym floor. So we are looking at, tearing that up completely down to the slab, clean it up and prep it for the new floor going in. So, this proposal has been reviewed by the Standing Building Committee. It would be awarded under the state contract. And we're recommending you award it to Best Tech Environmental Services in the amount of $98,840.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing
Cliff,
none.
Cliff,
Sandy.
I have one question. I'm sorry. I know we're doing it because of the asbestos issue, but if we weren't, is it nice to be improving the floor or it's only solely because of the asbestos?
Actually, it's reversed. We're primarily doing it because the floor is past its life cycle, so we no longer can take it down and repair it. And it's starting to buckle and release by itself. So the floor is the main cause of the removal of it, but the abatement is a secondary,
Okay, all right,
piece of it.
I got it. Thank
This
you.
is 98,000 just for the abatement.
Correct, yes,
And then we're gonna see another cost for the replacement.
correct. That would be the next one.
Oh,
Item.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, and thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room? That motion carries. 7.2, discuss and take possible action to contract with Target Sports off the Omnia contract for replacement of the gym floor at Baldwin Middle School. That includes bid alternates 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mitch, I'm not Mitch, but Cliff. Sorry.
So this is the other half of the project, and it's the replacement of the gym floor itself. So And again, this company is strictly doing the install. The full abatement and removal of the prior floor is underneath the Best Tech. So we're looking at replacement of that wooden floor with another wooden floor. We're looking at awarding the contract under the Omni contract. It was reviewed by the Standing Building Committee, and they recommended moving forward and awarding the work to Target, along with the alternates, in a total sum of $295,229.21.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. All right, 7.3, consider take possible action to contract with Interscape Commercial Environments off the state contract for miscellaneous furniture for $595 Board of Ed offices. Cliff?
Yeah, so this is some minor miscellaneous furniture for the 595 offices as we continue to move in. This is more minor stuff like coat racks, a couple cabinets, bookcases, and one additional desk. So we're looking at awarding this under state contract. It was reviewed by the Standing Building Committee and recommended to award it to Interscape Commercial Environments, who has provided the balance of the furniture up to this point in the amount of $9,675.98.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Comments or questions? Sue?
I mean, I'm looking at his package of 6 hangers for $50. Is that the sorts of things that are on here?
There's a
I mean, that's just on the first page.
That's four packages of hangers, I
Well,
believe.
each one is 50, so it's 200 for the 4 of them.
All right.
So 24 hangers for $200. That's not the kind of thing we're doing here, is it?
It can't be,
That can't be it.
don't they? Yeah, that's a good question, though.
That is a good one. Let me check into that. I'm trying to think how we can do this. I need to get the desk ordered in order to move in the next department. So can we just remove that amount at this point, and I'll look into that? Would that be okay?
Moving a desk from one room to another for $425. I just seems like,
Sue, could you say that again? A desk is to move it, it costs $400?
yeah, I don't want to take anything out of context, but move existing desk and return from 113 to 114. And then we're moving another desk from one room to another, and that's $425 to do that.
Well, it's not just moving. They have to break these down and rebuild them completely in order to move them, because they're larger desks.
Why do they need to be moved? I mean, not to micromanage, but it just. Why can't it just stay in room 113?
Because it's the wrong configuration. It doesn't work in that office space. So if you want, I'll go back and review these again and find out if there's anything that was mislabeled or misstated. And
yeah, I don't feel that I can vote to approve this. And it's also, I mean, you're telling us that your cover letter states that the Standing Building Committee made this recommendation. Did they not look at these things? Because we kind of defer to them. We figure they look at all these things. So
When you're saying one room to another, is it from one building to another to move
well,
the
it says
desk?
from one.
no,
room
it's
to
within the
114.
same building. But they have to break it down into multiple pieces because of the size of them, and then reconstruct them again.
That brings up a question, were they put in the wrong rooms to start with?
No, there was a reconfiguration of staffing that created a reconfiguration in the various offices. So we can put that on hold. I'll go through this. We'll review it again with Standing Building Committee, and we'll get back
That's
to you on
fair.
that one.
All right,
Thank
is there a
you.
motion to table
So moved.
in a second? Try your minds, Selectman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. 7.4, discuss and take possible action to award bid number 6-2425 Guilford Public Schools networking upgrades.
So we went out to bid for upgrades for equipment and wiring throughout the various schools, all 7 schools. Obviously to improve our network and reliability within our various data systems. We did get, I think, a total of 5 bidders for the project itself. Those bids were reviewed by the Standing Building Committee and the IT director. And they both made the recommendation to move forward with Atlantic Computing Technology, who is the lowest bidder for the project, in the amount of $548,954.45. This project is already bonded and has $660,000 for the project itself. We are filing with E-rate reimbursement, which should get us approximately 40% back on the project itself.
What is that exactly, E-rate? Is that
It's a
something
federal program that
trying to get?
offsets costs of technology in schools.
I don't see the detail attached to this proposal. What are they doing in total, Cliff?
It's a whole bunch of various pieces of equipment and wiring. So switches and I should have the IT director give you that because I'm not as familiar with all the stuff, but it's all basically the background or backbone of the schools. A bunch of wireless points, things of that nature are all involved in here.
Every
UPS.
school?
What's that?
Every school? Which schools are included?
Correct. Yes, throughout the
Every-
district. Yep,
Every school.
correct. Yep.
Okay, so it's not gonna be, oh, by the way, we still need to do the grade schools.
No, there will be a phase 2. This is the first half of the project that we're expecting, or probably 2/3 of the project. So there will be some more stuff to come through, but this is the first round.
Are, excuse me, are your administrative locations included in these upgrades?
No, because we just did all that under the renovation project.
Okay,
The administration within the building would be impacted within the school buildings, but
Yeah.
not the
Right.
central office.
Correct. Central office is not included in here because that was just done. So the 595 building is not included in here.
okay.
All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I guess I'm in a similar spot here. I don't know what the detail is that we're acting on.
The RFP is about 50 pages.
It is.
Yes.
It's not like hangers.
It's not like hangers. no.
Oh,
So
no.
again, this is different from the ongoing, there's a $500,000 annual technology lease that involves all the equipment that are actually in use, sort of customer facing equipment. This is the backbone within the schools, 2/3 of them at least, more or less, based on what you're saying. And which we don't take care of, at some point, things are just gonna come grinding to a halt. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here, why we're doing this.
Correct.
There's
So keep in mind, the backbone of the school nowadays, right? If you look back 10 years, even 15 years ago, maybe a little less, right? There was a lot less technology running on the backbone of these schools, right? We didn't have as many cameras. We didn't have all the door access systems and security systems, phone systems, et cetera, et cetera. That all now runs right through, the network systems, including copy machines, printers. So every time you turn around, we're adding more equipment to these systems. So that's why we have to upgrade them and keep them going. It is different than that 500,000 or technology lease that we do. That's looking at the copy machines, all the laptops and stuff that get regularly turned over for students and staff, printers, things of that nature. That's more of on the user side than the backbone side.
So actually to my point before about, I singled out the grade schools. The high school is now 12 years old? How old? Is any of this going into
2016.
the high school?
It's 10 years old.
Okay, and so how much of this is tagged for the high school? Are we making significant changes at the high school? Or these the other
Correct.
schools?
There is already, yes, upgrades required at the high school. Yep. Most technology, I mean, I doubt you'd say you probably keep your computer for 10 years. But that's where we're at, if you kind of think about it.
No, we're moving this.
Okay.
This is the infrastructure.
Okay. Cliff, it would be helpful. I understand it's a 50-page RFP. We don't need
Right.
that, but it would be helpful to have like a list of bullet points
Right.
of what we're
Okay.
doing. And if you could sort of fill us in after the fact, we're hearing this is necessary to keep everything moving. Counting on you.
I'll send you a copy of the
Thank
RFP. I
All right.
Yeah, I can have the IT
Sorry.
director send you guys an overview of what, kind of
That's what I'm
a
talking
layman's
about.
overview of what it incorporates.
That'd be helpful.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Any further comments or conversations? Let me try your minds, Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room. That motion carries. Item 7.5, consider take possible action to contract with Fryer Architecture off the state contract to conduct a district-wide facilities assessment. Cliff?
Thank you. And this is our last one. So we're looking at doing a complete facility needs assessment for the entire district. As you recall, we probably did one about 12 years ago. And many of those projects throughout the last 10, 12 years have been completed. So it is time to kind of go through again, reevaluate the condition of all the schools, come up with an updated 10-year capital plan, and hopefully that we're in a good place relative to 10 years ago. So we're looking at awarding the needs assessment under the state contract to Fryer Architecture in the amount of $122,000. The Standing Building Committee did review this, and they felt it was a very reasonable number to be doing all 7 schools. And just to review what this is, they go through the entire school and look at all our systems, whether it's the building envelope, meaning, the roof, the windows, wall structure, things of that nature, interior wise, everything from flooring, HVAC, lighting, and any other building systems that are included in there. And then the other thing that's also included, just to make sure we know, they are going to evaluate our security as well, because that's a hot topic, ongoing hot topic. So,
Cliff, and in the needs assessment, besides all the physical things you just said, do they look at the population trends and things like that? Because we know that, we recently had a letter to the editor from a Guilford citizen wondering about the number of schools we have and how we're using them. And I realize that's just one person, but I just wondered if that kind of planning is in this needs assessment, or is that a different kind of planning tool?
that's a different kind of planning tool. Normally the superintendent office handles that as far as, the growth and whatnot. So they do some sort of
Roll those projections.
I'm not sure if it's an assessment, but they have a plan that it tells us whether or not, we're staying flatlined or growing or decreasing student wise and population wise. So that's a different
Okay.
type of assessment. Yep.
So we won't grill you on that.
No. So once we know more about how our schools are and the condition of them, then they'll take that information, kind of combine it to say, okay, do we need to put money into a 4th elementary school, or should we take one offline? And we'll get into that discussion at that point in time. Yep.
It's the
Thank you.
essential part of that whole question.
Right. Were you on the board the last time we did I think it is
Yeah, I think so.
needs assessment.
Yeah, so. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no.
I was just wondering, Cliff, what's the time frame for getting this completed?
We'd like to try to have it done sometime over the summer, completed over the
Oh,
summer.
wow.
So that we'll have a report in the fall, so that we can kind of help gauge some of the bonds that we might need coming forward as we get in the budget season next year.
Great, thank you.
Anything further?
No.
No. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion?
Second?
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 8, consider and take possible action on adopting the local option allowed under HB 7067, section 7, to increase the depreciation table for motor vehicle valuation from the current schedule to a higher depreciation schedule effective for 2024 grand list. I think, as everyone understands, there was legislation passed to try to fix what was widely received as a gross error in the depreciation schedule. I will say that I have heard it's being affectionately called the Guilford-Manchester bill, because we were the first two to get to the Speaker of the House on this issue.
Well, that's good. A little north and south alignment.
There you go. There you go. So the net effect for us on this is about $300,000, a little over $300,000, moving the depreciation schedule up to 5 points from year one at 85 versus year one at 90%. This is the process. We need to adopt a motion that is very specific. I think you guys have copies. It is approved the adoption of the local option allowed under HB 7067, section 7B, to elect to apply a modified schedule of depreciation as outlined in HB 7067, section 7B, with respect to motor vehicles based upon the manufacturer's suggested retail price of such motor vehicles, provided no motor vehicle shall be assessed at an amount less than 500. Is that, someone want to put that in a form?
I'm happy.
Matt,
Pete.
yeah, thank you. Thanks, Lou. Matt, I just wanted to point out that that we need a, excuse me, need a correction to the motion. That should be approved or adopted under section 2 of House Bill 7067. I think the confusion was the reference to section 7B is where it's going to appear in the Connecticut General Statutes, section 12-63B. It's going to be subparagraph 7B in that statute, and I think we kind of combine the two. But what you're looking to move is to adopt the local option allowed under section 2 of House Bill 7067.
Great, all right. Someone want to make that motion as modified with section 2?
If nobody's thought of it already. Yeah, I'll make the motion as clarified by Pete there.
Okay. Second. Thanks, Pete.
Okay.
Any further comments or questions?
And essentially, this just has the effect of the state over a number of years now has been looking for ways to reduce the burden on municipalities, I'll say some municipalities, cities, motor vehicle taxes, right? And so they're driving down the amount that's collected from there. This just reduces that rate at which the reduction takes place. There's a lot of negatives in there, but the taxes overall on the motor vehicles are going to be less, but less serious. And the effect of that from us is it just drives up the taxes on
residential and personal property. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And you're right. Your clarification on that is completely accurate.
And that's fine. I mean, the legislature does what it does. They're dealing with a lot of other different pressures, but for us, this reduces the impact for this year at least. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Let me try your minds, Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, appointments and resignations. And before we do that, we have one that we want to add to the agenda under 9.6. That was one that I forwarded to you and then left you copies of. Greg Cousins. So is there a motion to add that as 9.6?
So,
Second?
Second,
Okay, 9.1, act on resignation received from Alexander Hoffman from the Affordable Housing Commission. I'll make that motion with appreciation and regret. Is there a second?
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
aye.
those in the room?
aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 9.2, act on recommendation to appoint James Anderson to the Inland Wetlands Commission to fill a vacancy to expire on February 28th, 2026. Is there a motion? Second?
Second?
Second. Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. 9.3, act on recommendation to appoint Barbara Casey to the Affordable Housing Commission to fill a vacancy for a term to expire on October 31st, 2026. Is there a motion?
I'd like to move forward.
Second?
I'm sorry, could you just tell me the political party there, because we have to keep that balance? I didn't.
These are just four in a row for the independents.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You got it. All right, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. 9.4, act on a recommendation to reappoint Ted Sands to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire February 28th, 2029. Is there a motion?
Move Ted.
Ted, and a
Second.
second. Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. 9.5, act on a recommendation to reappoint Kevin Clark to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on February 28th, 2029. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
And the second?
Second?
Second, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. 9.6, a recommendation to appoint Kevin Clark to the Planning and Zoning Commission. No, I'm sorry, Greg Cousins to fill a vacancy on the Shellfish Commission.
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Aye, no, second, sorry.
Second. Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, request of town property. Act on a request from the Women and Family Life Center to use the green April 23rd, 2025, the rain date of April 24th, to raise awareness for sexual assault services and resources. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
Second. Comments or questions?
Yes, do we know how the green is going to be used? I didn't understand from reading this.
I don't know. Trey, have they provided what part of the green they're going to work on?
What they're actually going to be doing. It says, it mentions tables.
I think,
and
yeah, I think they just have tables and information. They've done this, they did this last year as well. It's
Okay.
just informational. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay,
Thank you. All right, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
those in the room?
aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 10.2, act on request from the First Congregational Church to use the green for its ecumenical palm blessing on April 3rd, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second, okay.
Great.
I just point out, this is all the
All the churches
churches
getting
get together. and they do the administrative task.
Ginger got it this time, right? All right, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. 10.3, act on a request from the Baldwin Middle School Playground Committee to place an unattended display of a grizzly bear and 2 penguins that will be auctioned off to raise money for the playground project. A small sign describing the event will be included as well. I think this might be barnyard animals showing up again, if I'm not mistaken.
This is grizzly bear and 2
Penguins and
penguins.
Yeah,
grizzlies.
well,
Oh, okay, you never know.
Oh,
yeah, plus,
Okay.
plus I think it's,
It's an auction project,
yes, it is.
okay.
fundraiser.
Yeah, similar to what we've done with penguins and other things.
They're-
Not
they're
we,
amazing.
but someone has.
So-
All right, so we got, is there a motion? And
Make
and
the
a
motion.
And a second.
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Item 11, committee reports. Sandy, anything or status quo?
I think status quo at the moment. We do
Great.
have a new chairperson elected because we got new bylaws in place, and that is MJ Kestner right now for a 2-year term for the Affordable Housing Commission.
Great. Thank you. Correspondence, anything on public works report or building report? Old business? New business?
Quick new
Before-
business I had.
Before we,
Oh, sorry.
before we go to the public forum, MJ?
Did you do building permits report? I'm here.
Right.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Okay,
Sorry.
great.
Last month, there was a question regarding the differences between what we report as revenue and what's on those reports. And there's actually 3 different buckets, that you look at, and it really is just timing and when things happen. So the minute someone over at town, minute they open a permit and they start a batch. The minute they start a batch for that permit, that gets batched up for that particular month. So if the batch starts, December 30th and but they don't close that out until the next Monday and now it's in January, our numbers reflect bank cash balance and their numbers reflect what they're doing. And then sometimes they hold those permits over and, there are different reasons that even if you look at their reports, their totals, they have a batch report at the end that doesn't quite match what they're batching at the beginning. It's really just a matter of timing. By the end of the year, we sum that all up to make sure that all the money's in the right place. So if we get a deposit in July, that's really a June batch, we're putting it back to June.
Okay.
On an everyday basis, it's coming in as cash. So those reports, it could balance if we spent the time, you know what I mean? But that's the reason. It's really just timing is when they start the batch, when they close the batch, when the money goes in the bank.
Okay, and the year-to-date and month of February numbers are the same. So I don't know why that would be, but it's just the way the reports run.
Yeah, however they ran their report. We're
Which one it
obviously,
is, if it's year-to-date or if it's month of February.
I use that report literally just to look at how many permits and stuff they're doing. We rely on our data for the actual
Okay.
cash in the bank, so.
So we probably don't need to even be getting this, because we don't look at it, we don't understand it.
And the Board of Finance only looks at how many housing starts, which,
Yeah.
although that's an
Yeah,
interesting number and maybe over time it's been interesting, it really doesn't show the real picture.
No, it
That, one new building could be 100 permits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what we use it for on a regular basis. I know it's not maybe the best answer, but just wanted to follow up on that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I would
Thank you.
suggest that we not get them anymore, because I
Yeah.
think if it's in our packet, we're responsible for understanding
Standing
it.
it.
So I would say that's
Yeah,
something.
Well, it's accurate for what they're doing at a particular time.
But it's not. I mean, with month of February amounts are the exact same thing as the year-to-date
Oh,
amounts. and
yeah.
You don't know which one's right.
That I'd have to look into.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
but
I'm
as
not
far as
asking
the
you to
permits
really-
that they're generating from their system, those numbers are accurate, whether, they're in the right month or not, is a different.
It strikes me as, I've always thought that's an odd report too. This might be almost better on a quarterly basis or maybe, sort of, if it's not the biggest deal to attack this, but I've always kind of glossed over it a
It's-
little too.
Forgive
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, I believe it's really a Board of Finance report that they're looking at, you guys just happen to get, is that?
We'll talk to them
Okay.
tonight. Why don't we talk to them tonight?
See
Yeah.
what value they have in it. And, certainly we can always, speak to the building inspector too and talk about maybe there's some other report value. We don't get reports from other departments, just that one.
Right, yeah.
There
Yeah,
had to
that's
be
what I
some
was
reason, there had to be some reason at the beginning to start with
Well,
that.
I mean, that goes to my point about less frequently. I mean, if there's some trend that we need to know at the pace of development in town is picking up, which you're not gonna get on a month-to-month basis, you're gonna get that every 6 months or every year. It might be useful to say, oh my goodness, we have a lot of projects we think that are in the pipeline, if all of a sudden 10 or 20 building units, housing units start coming online in a month, that we need to sort of know that. That changes a lot of things, but the fact that somebody's putting a fireplace in isn't particularly helpful.
All right, I think what I hear is we can take it off the monthly packet.
Yeah.
If somebody wants the data, they can certainly ask for it.
Yeah, not that's a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you're gonna see the financial side of it in my reports. That's just the, breaking out, the permits. And I think it's interesting to see all of that information, but what we accumulate as the cover letter that just has the number of housing units, to me, housing starts, that
Those are single family.
to me, that doesn't have a lot of value. I'm sure at some point there was a lot of value to that, which is why it started, and we've just continued doing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't
James?
have the agenda in front of me. Are we still under new business or something? Where are
I
we?
broke in, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, but I
went
can't,
so
I don't have.
fast, I didn't get down here fast
She
enough.
she was coming in to cover the building report, which I was unaware of.
Yes.
Until, and which is why we moved old business and new business, but you have something under new business or? old
I
business?
just had two questions that could fall under new business, but is it okay to, are we there? Are we at new business? Okay.
Yes, we are.
I saw that John Tarudas was in the room, and I, just being nosy, does he have anything to tell us about progression on all the mooring documents and or whatever to go forward? And is there anything else to tell us about anything in town?
Well, just a couple of things you should know. We had the opportunity to meet with folks from the Guilford Preservation Alliance as well as Joel Helander on the property to discuss potential opportunities to honor what has been there and what is there today as we move forward. We are moving forward with enidentifying some resources for us to use. We're going to need to get an engineer, an architectural engineer as well, to determine what we can do, because in order to apply, we need to apply with what the final design is going to look like. Because that would determine how much funding we're going to go after, right? So that's the process we're in right now. And actually, we're going to, early, there were some emails going back and forth the end of last week related to the leaseholder and some potential plans that entity has. Don't know at this point whether that falls, we have any purview over that or who does, but we're going to work through that between town council and the property owner, the current property owner. So. And then I think we have a meeting this afternoon of the team just for a status update on it. So 5:05, we have a standing meeting now on that topic. So. And John is doing a lot of legwork on that. So
Thank you.
anything else?
I have a piece of new business, which is was invited to join a green utilization committee that actually overlapped with this meeting today. I'm going to jump into that as soon as I get out.
Yeah.
As this concludes, and I'll let everybody know what's happening.
Thank you. Anything else?
I'm sorry, Lou, a green utilization, you mean the green committee?
I'm getting that name, I'm getting that title wrong. Let me get it more precisely. The stakeholders meeting, Guilford Green stakeholders meeting. And I will let you know more as I learn more.
Okay.
Thanks for saying yes.
Yeah.
To whatever it is.
Exactly.
That's different than the standing.
There's about
Yes.
a dozen people on this meeting.
Yeah.
I'm blacked out. So I'll let you know as soon as I'm in.
Okay. All right, anything further? Public forum. Deb, come on up.
Thanks for staying till 11:20.
Is it okay to ask or to mention something about the COLA? Because I really have just learned about it.
You can talk about anything.
Oh,
you
okay.
want. Anything you want.
So with the COLA, I do, what I think I understand is that it's sort of written into the, specifically the police department. And I know that they do enormous work and they put their lives on the line for us. So I do understand their positions, but I do also understand that they can retire after 20 years and most of them do. And I know someone who lives in this town that was a Westville policeman and then became a Branford policeman and then went to Saybrook and, so they still have the opportunity at their age to make a living and to expand their lives. So I'm kind of, wishy-washy about them having a constant increase in the cost of living. I feel more so for the people who are retiring at 65 and then you can't really collect everything until 67 in so many months, because I did work for, as a para educator for the Board of Education. I did have a pension. I did take it all out at once, so I'm not in there anymore. But I do understand for that type of a person, I mean, you really can't even collect your first Social Security until you're 67, whatever. And the amount of pension that I received, it was extremely minimal. I would hope that you would keep that all in mind, because they are the only ones that do have it in their contract. The other people don't. The other thing was, I did want to thank you, Sue, for bringing up, and you, Lou, what the $9,675 for the new 595 BOE offices that you're looking at, those line items, because it does make a big difference. This is what we have to do in our families and in our lives every day when we're trying to make cuts necessary to survive, especially in this economy. So I do appreciate the fact that you are looking and giving a little scrutiny to that. That's it.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
All right, anybody online? We have all town employees there, I think, at this point. More than likely.
Can I ask a question of our one and only guest?
Certainly.
Deb, what did you think about the time limits for the budget meeting?
You
You're
know,
representative
you know
of
what?
22,000 people
You
here.
know what, honestly, I did look at, I didn't go to the meeting for the purchase of 505. I was just really torn on that, so I kind of stayed away from that. I do feel that in this day and age, if you're a taxpayer, you want to be able to say your piece. So I do agree with Sue. I also believe that, you know, meetings can go on forever, you know, and so it's a real balancing act. You know, maybe you say to people at some point, it's been an hour of discussion. We will ask or let everybody know. We want everybody to be able to speak their opinion. If you really have something to say, get in line, and we'll try to make sure that everybody that has come up at that moment has their piece to talk. Then people can at least say, well, I know I could have gone up and maybe I chose not to go up. And about repeating things, I do that. I think Sandra said it, is that sometimes someone might say something in a different way that someone already else said it, but they do want to be heard. So those are kind of my two. But there's a fine line. It's hard.
And the concession we made last year, I think was an appropriate one, because
Luckily, I missed that. I was sick. I was so sick last
Well,
year.
not luckily, but
No, but I was glad I missed that. Yeah.
Robert's rules are pretty clear about how you conduct meetings. You know, that provision of clause, which requires a two-thirds majority, is a tactic that's been used before. The first time I saw that was back in Guilford High School auditorium. I think I was in my first or second year as chair of the Board of Finance, and we were doing the turf field at the high school. And it was going to be deliberated at the meeting because it was less than $1 million. It didn't have to go to referendum. I opened the meeting and I started asking for comments, and someone goes, call the question. Literally, right off the bat, and they had the numbers. Meeting was over. And it just never felt right, you know? So,
Yeah, it really doesn't. Not when you have that. Those are people's, you know, they're living.
exactly. All right. I think we've exhausted our work for today. Thank you all. Chief Deb, have a good day. Is there a motion to adjourn? A second?
Second.
Non-debatable motion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Sandy, have a good time.
Don't cut me off yet.
All right, all right.
Are we?
Wait. Trey, are we recording? Trey?